Yes, hello tradies, season 3, episode 4. The weather is starting to cool down. Trade season is starting to heat up. We are brought to you by the great people at St Andrew's Brewery, the new brewery at Melbourne Park, the only place to be before a game at the G this season. Mitch Cleary has a glint in his eye on this Tuesday morning. Welcome.
Hello, Sam. No, when you mentioned that the weather is cooling down, I just pictured myself on the weekend in the trackies and the hoodie on the couch. You just know it's footy season when the trackies come out. So
I was sitting a few rows behind you for the entirety of the Carlton Hawthorn game.
yeah, you did tell me this.
I was basically stalking you.
So we got through the whole game and you called me the next morning and said, I
was watching you the whole time, and then you
didn't want to come and say good day.
And I tell you what, if there is, I've never seen a man more in the zone than you. By the way, never seen it. It was beautiful to watch.
You know what? Thursday nights is the highlight of my week because the boundary stuff really gets me going. I've done it on radio previously with SEN and ABC.
Yep.
And the in-game stuff I really enjoy. So I'm there basically to not watch the game. I sit front row of the bench.
Yep.
I can't really see the ground. I've got a little monitor, but I can't see the green stuff. Just simply watching what's going on.
And
Carlton,
it was cool. Sorry, go on.
No, just you learn a lot from the benches, I reckon. Michael Voss has been up and down from the coach's box this year. Tom DeConey got stuck on the bench, which I don't think Vossi really appreciated us bringing up in the post-match presser. But I thought it was an interesting layer to the final term on the weekend. Where
he reacted really weirdly in the press conference. A very simple question. Why did he get caught on the bench?
Yeah, I felt like...
Was that your question or was that... Yeah,
I felt like Michael Voss has always been calm and collected in the presser, but I saw a bit of a different side to him on the weekend.
Yeah, it was cracks starting to appear, I thought. No, it was cool watching you because then at quarter time and three-quarter time, I watched you and Beck walk out onto the ground and I'm watching you looking for a story. You know, like you're looking at the different huddles, you're seeing if someone's injured. So I went with research assistant Dan and...
Did you shout Dan a pot at the St Andrews Beach Brewery?
So Dan didn't make it to the brewery because he got caught in the storm. You know, that like flash storm that we had?
No, I was
a bit more organised and got there earlier.
I was shitting myself at about 6 o'clock when I saw it come through.
Yep. But I was there with a couple of other people at the brewery. So Carla and Tim reserved my my usual table.
The place has been open for a couple of months. I've got a usual table already.
A usual table in the back left corner.
What happens if you walk in and someone's on it? Or is it already reserved?
No, I think it's like a number that's been retired for a footy club. It's just constantly there. Can I be honest about something though? I've found my place. The brewery. I found that I won't be going to another venue prior to a game. Had the $15 burger.
None of the establishments on Punt Road on that side, you know.
And I was, as you know, I was a very large Swan Street operator. You know, the corner hotel was a second home for me.
I have actually done the Google Maps work. It is the closest place to get a beer from the G.
It's also the best
by
place.
A 3 or 4 minute walk.
And they have live music. It's just a win for me. So,
and you got your own reserved seat.
In fact, to the point where I don't think there's any footy at the G Thursday, Friday, is there?
No, Saturday only this week.
But I still could be there Thursday, Friday before the games. Essendon, Port, and then...
That's at Marvel. Then
Carlton
Dogs at Marvel.
Ooh, Blues could go 0-3.
D Suns at the G.
Well, that'll be the good thing about that is that there'll be no traffic.
Oh, Sam.
What?
Melbourne are just trying to have a crack, and we're only 2 weeks in.
Okay, let's.
Why do their fans hate Marvel so much, by the way?
Well, in due respect to Melbourne supporters, who I would say collectively have quite a high IQ compared to other supporters.
That's a fair generalisation.
No one likes Marvel. No one.
I went there on the weekend, my mum, dad and sister and I, and sat in the outer. I don't mind. The viewing experience of Marvel's perfectly fine.
Hang on. I'm looking over at Link here, who's producing because Scotty's decided to do something more important this week.
Scotty's a bit flat after the Cats loss, I think.
So Mitch works for Seven in bed with the AFL. AFL own Marvel. Mm-hmm. Mitch being positive about Marvel.
No.
Am I drawing too long a bow there?
If we were in bed together, I would have had corporate seats. We sat in the outer.
Surely your close relationship with Chris Jones means that you just get
No, I'm a happily paying punter. Getting paid $12 for a can, which I won't be doing again anytime soon.
Oh, you're complaining about...
Anyway.
Hey, just before we get in, because we've got a lot to get to today, and I'm adding a new face to the whiteboard, a new name that's never been seen on the whiteboard before.
Even like in any of the seasons?
In any of the seasons.
Okay.
And he's contracted.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Just a quick golf story. We haven't talked about golf on this show for a while. So I played on Saturday down the coast, just put my name down with 3 other members. Got there.
So how does that work? You just randomly put your name in and you get put with random blokes?
Yeah. So I would usually play with my regular mates, but Matt had decided to book himself in without asking me, and so his time slots got filled. So I had to play with other people, which is fine. You get to the first tee, shake hands, g'day Mitch, I'm Sam, blah, 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 all good. And then one of the 4 blokes, who will remain nameless, said, and he was a slightly older chap, said, hey, sorry guys, I'm just letting you know from the outset, I apologise if I don't hear you too well today, right? And halfway through the sentence, I'm thinking, okay, he's a bit older. Maybe he's just got, bad hearing. That's fine, like. And then the second part of the sentence was, I just really like listening to music while I play golf. Put 2 AirPods in, and that was it for the 18 holes.
Wow.
And
wasn't listening to tradies?
to the point where was humming to songs like while we're on the green.
Could you work? Was it? You should have been like a.
Yeah, there was a bit of Bruce Springsteen. There's a bit of Bryan Adams, which I actually quite enjoyed. I've never seen in my 10 years of playing golf. That's the first.
Yeah, right. It wasn't just you. Like he saw you walk up and thought, I don't want 3 hours of this chat.
And then we were on like the 15th hole, and he came up to me and he approached me and took one AirPod out and was like, I've just worked out who you are.
Oh.
And he's like, now tell me about the pies. And I was like, oh, God.
Hey, are you on your phone for those 3 or 4 hours while you're playing golf? Like, do you check it?
So it's really interesting.
Because I don't reckon I could go 20 minutes in footy season without looking at my phone.
Oh, God, I can and do. I used to just put the phone in the bag and deliberately put it, like bury it somewhere that I could just have 4 hours of just nothing. But now that since COVID, all the scoring's on the phone.
All right, yeah.
So you're on your phone at the end of every hole.
Yeah.
And as soon as you put your score in and you're on your phone, you're, I might as well check other stuff. So you end up, I don't love it. You end up not being completely disconnected. All right, let's get into the whiteboard. There's a couple of big stories that I think are going to explode. It's going to be a big trade period. The whiteboard brought to you by HBF Health Insurance. Your health dream team, make the trade to HBF today. I'll let you start.
I'm putting Marcus Bontempelli on the whiteboard. He's an unrestricted free agent. He's been at the Bulldogs for he's now been into his 10th year, so it means he's automatically an unrestricted free agent.
He's arguably the best Bulldog ever.
Yeah, and arguably the best player in the competition. He's still out for 3 to 5 weeks with this calf injury, and I can't see him re-signing in the next little period as he gets back from that, so he's going to take a little bit of time. There's uncertainty around his football club. There's uncertainty around his coach right now. And the fact that he's the unrestricted status means that clubs can throw the kitchen sink at him cap-wise and not have to give up a pick for him. Now, I'm not saying he's leaving. And I think, in fact, the most likely scenario is that he does stay at the Bulldogs. But it is a curious one. We've spoken about Oscar Allen, who's on your whiteboard. But a captain gets to round 3 of the season and a player in Marcus Bontempelli's calibre and yet to re-sign. I think he's worth putting on as my 5th item on the HBF Dream Team whiteboard.
Have you got a suitor for him?
Not at this point.
Granted that everyone would be.
Yeah. Well, you could rule out Carlton because of the cap unless Tom de Koning left.
Which is looking increasingly likely.
Do you reckon?
Well, while he's playing unbelievably and they're playing like a bottom 4 side,
yeah, his value's going up.
I can't see him wanting to stay.
Yeah.
What's Carlton or St Kilda? Anyway, I'll get to him.
It's just those 2, you reckon?
Yep, he won't be playing for anyone else next year.
Yeah. Geelong wouldn't have a throw at the stumps?
No. Well, they might, but I can't see it happening.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. No, I don't have any strong suitors just yet. I think it's probably a little early for that. But if someone could stump up, 1.4, 1.5 for Marcus Bontempelli to play for the next 2 or 3 years.
Oh, you'd find
3 or 4 years.
You'd look under all the couches.
Yeah.
You'd find the cash, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
For a generational player. Could be the best player of the last 25 years.
Could be.
Not positive he is, but he might be.
Yep.
It's probably dusty still.
Probably rules him out of the Brownlow this year as well, doesn't it? We all thought he probably should have a Brownlow.
Yeah.
The calf injury.
Plenty of great players never won a Brownlow. Lee Matthews. Okay. Can I? Do you want to put him?
Yeah.
You go write him up on the. We got these new magnets on the HBF whiteboard. So I am adding a man who, at the end of 2021, signed a 5-year contract extension when his value never would have been higher.
2021, 5 years. So he's got 25 and 26 to run on his deal?
So he's contracted until the end of next year. And he went through a 3-year period around that time where he kicked more goals than anyone in the competition outside of 2 players. Do you know who I'm talking about? He plays for a Victorian side.
No. Who are we?
Bailey Fritsch.
Bailey Fritsch. Yeah, okay.
He's 28.
Yeah.
He's not 29 until December.
Yeah.
So he's a good age. He's got one more big deal in him, I reckon.
Yeah.
And
So how old is he again?
that's 29 in December.
Yeah.
He is in many ways emblematic of Melbourne's decline. Now, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but geez, you'd hate to be a forward playing in their team. And if you watch them against North Melbourne on the weekend, they're just deplorable putting the ball inside 50. And Bailey Fritsch is one of those players, as we've seen, that if you're able to give him decent service, he's a poacher. He's a clinical finisher.
Yep.
He's, in soccer terms, Fernando Torres, Andrei Shevchenko, he's just a guy that puts himself, Haaland for Manchester City at the moment, like they're not necessarily kicking the goals from outside the box.
Carlos Tevez.
Yeah, Tevez slightly different player, but yep. They're poachers. They put themselves in the right position. That's what Bailey Fritsch is a poacher.
Yep.
And he's out of contract at the end of next year. But since round 12 last year, he's only kicked 15 goals in 14 games.
Had his equal lowest ever disposal count against North on the weekend.
Was it 4?
4.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Link. Oh, geez, Link's made a hot start.
Sharp too, in and out.
Are you a D's fan, Link?
No.
Oh, okay. I was about to say. Just wondering if you'd been to many games. Anyway, so we'll come back to that. So he's one of those players that, and I know people will say similar things about Petrarca, right? And we'll get to him later in the year because we've talked about him ad nauseum the last 6 months. But the more Melbourne continue to struggle, both in win-loss ratio and also moving the ball forward, he's going to have his head turned. And also, it's probably going to bring his value down, which makes him more attractive to other clubs. So if it had been midway through, say, 2022, just after kicking 60 goals in 21 and 6 in a grand final and all that sort of stuff, and he's, 25, 26, he would have been worth, Mitch, like a top 12 pick.
Yep.
Almost. Because goals are so hard to come by. Right now, and if this form dip with his personal form and his team continues, you could be able to snag Bailey Fritsch for what? A pick in the late 20s?
Yeah, 25 came to mind.
Yeah, I was thinking like 28, something like that. Which would
And he's 29.
Yeah, but he doesn't look like that sort of guy, and it's not as though he's run many Ks.
Well, it was a late bloomer, wasn't he? He was drafted as a mature ager.
Yeah, I think he was either 20 or 21 when he played his debut.
Cold stream.
21.
21, thank you.
Cold stream to KCVFL.
Yeah. In fact, there's a story somewhere that I wrote about him, I think just as he was playing his debut, about the amount of hours that he was spending in the car going
like those
from
stories.
cold stream, because he was a chippy or he was a sparky, I reckon. Anyway, I digress. There would be so many teams in the competition that could use a Bailey Fritsch. And that's the attractive thing about him. So, Oscar Allen obviously is a name that he's on the whiteboard that will be appealing to many teams. But a lot of teams already have their key forwards stocked. So he's not as appealing. Whereas a Bailey Fritsch, I don't think there's one team in the competition that's like, no, I couldn't think about think about Collingwood and how they've been able to use Elliott and
That was the thing. Like,
McStay.
Is he an Elliott replacement?
Yeah, he probably is. I mean, they're similar-ish players.
Yeah,
Elliott's probably a bit more mercurial, whereas Fritsch is probably a little bit more your traditional hit-up,
Yeah.
small full forward.
Yeah. What about Hawthorn for life after like a Gunston?
Well, I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, Gunston's playing as a sub / not getting a game. Bruce has been playing in the twos. You know, Chol might not be the answer long term. He plays tall, he plays small. I just think that there'll be a myriad of teams that will say, if Melbourne get to the end of the year, let's say they miss the 8, problems surrounding their coach, maybe they have a change of coach, maybe Oliver and or Petrarca look around again. There will be teams that look at Bailey Fritsch with a year left in his deal. He's not even 29 yet, and they'll be willing to, you know, you'd take a risk on 4 years for Bailey Fritsch.
So he's played 2 games of this year. So he's got all of this year and all of next year to run. He's essentially got 42 games left on his contract.
Yep.
You've heard something here. You're not just plucking his name out of somewhere. Is he up for grabs at the end of this year?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a lot of consonants to end his name. TSCH.
Yeah, it's
Fritsch.
Fritsch. Yep.
It's a lot of consonants.
Okay.
I really hope that was on camera.
Bailey Fritsch goes on as a 29-year-old at the end of the season. He's one to watch. Sam's come with a bit of mail there. I reckon he hasn't just been watching the footy on the weekend and thought, I might put Bailey Fritsch on the whiteboard. I reckon he's been told something. The Carlton Hawthorn trade, we'll just give an update after last week. We almost feel like a weekly segment on this. This is going to be fun to watch this year.
Yeah, this going to be fun. Yep.
So Hawthorn has Carlton's first rounder. Right now that's sitting at pick 6. Now, it's still a long way to go. But West Coast decided to take Hawthorn's pick. They could
Why
have
do I
had
feel like
Carlton's.
you're enjoying this?
Oh, no, it's just future training has given an extra element to my weekend watching the footy. Just one other man on your whiteboard, LDU. Does a performance like that on the weekend give hope to his signature at North and maybe what he might be able to see as the future?
Did North win?
The rooms were very jubilant on Sunday night.
Did North win? It's funny, I hadn't heard anything about that.
Come on.
I didn't realise the grand final was played on the weekend.
You've potted North, you've potted Melbourne in recent years. Give them their dues.
So, on a serious note, unbelievable result for North. Very happy for their fans. They've been through 5 years of torture. To be able to celebrate a huge win like that's awesome. They played with so much freedom and spark. Your man Comben was unbelievable. And LDU, and I've said this before, I think I've said this before on this pod, like LDU has flashes where like I'm like, oh, that's Patrick Dangerfield.
Yeah.
What happened there? Like, I think he had a blind turn on the weekend, and then that bit in the last quarter where he faded the handball and then gave a really late handball to McKercher who kicked the goal. Like, he's just so good to watch. I just want to see him do that 15 times a year.
Yeah.
And I know that maybe that's sounding harsh, but I'm saying that's the stand. I put him in the Cripps territory. Do you know what I mean? But Cripps does it a lot more often.
When he's not in the ruck, yeah.
But but apparently he's played in the ruck quite often, and he's won.
I saw
a
the numbers
Brownlow
actually. Was it Class that did it last night?
No, don't question Carlton about him playing in the ruck because apparently he won a Brownlow doing that. Everything's fine at Carlton. So, in answer to your question, a result like that on the weekend can only help.
Yeah.
But is he turning around and signing in the next fortnight? I would be surprised. Would you?
Yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
I would be.
So they go to Adelaide this weekend and take on the Crows at the Adelaide Oval. The Crows who have ominously torn apart 2 average sides. I think the weekend is a really good test for North. And I really want to see them compete.
Yeah.
For 4 quarters. And that's what Alistair Clarkson's talked about quite a lot the last 24 months, has we need to compete for longer periods. So for me, this weekend is more important than what they did against Melbourne. Melbourne were witches' hats. They didn't have May. They didn't have Pickett. They didn't have McVee. They looked listless. North Melbourne put them to the sword, which is absolutely what you want to see.
Yeah.
And that last quarter was just sublime. But Adelaide at this point represents a whole different beast. And I want them halfway through the last quarter to be in the game.
Yep.
I want them to be within 4 goals. If they turn around and do that this weekend, I will start taking North Melbourne more seriously.
That's fair.
If they get pumped by 10 goals, it's one step forward and one step back.
Are you prepared to give me some ground on the Darling recruitment and how that's helped Larky in that forward line?
No.
What do you need to see a couple more weeks?
Yeah, it's round 2.
Yep.
He played in his 300th. He's had an excellent career. I was very happy that he was able to celebrate his 300th with a win.
I feel like Nick Larky's grown a leg with him in the side.
Do you?
I do.
Okay. I mean, Nick Larky a couple of years ago did kick 70 goals.
He did, but it feels like he's a free man. He's not competing 3-on-1 now. It's more
I think you're
2-on-1.
I think you're being disrespectful to Nick Larky by saying that Jack Darling's helped him.
Right. I think that's a feather in the whole North Melbourne forward line setup's cap.
I tell you who's been good for North. Caleb Daniel.
Yes.
There's a lot of top-line teams out there towards the north end of the ladder. When I mean north, I meant opposite of south, not North Melbourne. That was confusing. That could use Caleb Daniel. He's an excellent decision maker and ball user.
Yeah.
Probably go okay at the Dogs right now.
Yeah, they could do with him. They could do with Jack McRae as well, given their midfield injuries with Bontempelli. Trelaws on his calf again.
So on to the Blues, and just touching on my man towards the top there, TDK.
Good couple of weeks.
Would be in the conversation for All-Australian ruckman right now if you were to pick the team. First 2 weeks has been unbelievable. First 2 weeks for his team has been disastrous. He then goes to Marvel Stadium, probably sitting near where you were in your corporate seats, on Saturday to watch his brother Sam play against the Saints.
So he was there.
He was there.
I like this.
And watched the Saints put on a show. So the situation with Tom is he's either staying at Carlton or he's taking the cash at St Kilda. He's not moving clubs for similar money.
Yep.
So I think you can rule out the other 16 teams. Now, the worse that Carlton play and the more competitive that St Kilda are, the more likely it is that Tom leaves. Carlton's situation is made more embarrassing by your point, the fact that they don't have their first pick. Their cap is extremely tight, so I do giggle when people say, their list isn't that good. So Essendon's list isn't that good. Carlton's list is great. And if they've got underperforming players, that's not Nick Austin's fault, the list manager. It's not Stephen Silvani's fault. That's development. That's coaching. They've had access to all these picks. And apart from, the likes of Dow and O'Brien, who I think most people would agree now were just the wrong picks at that top end.
Yep.
Apart from guys like that, the majority of guys who are not playing well, it's not because we've never seen them play well. The guys who are down on form from their best. So whenever you hear someone say, geez, I'm not sure Carlton have picked the right blokes, can I just take you back? So round 14, which was June 18 of 2023 against Gold Coast. So this is the year they went on the run to the prelim final and they ultimately lost to Brisbane, right? So their season at round 14 was over, basically cooked, done, kaput, take them out of the oven. They're playing Gold Coast at the MCG. They're down at quarter time. Mm-hmm. Season's on the line. And then they kicked 10 goals in the second quarter. They beat Gold Coast. They barely lost a game for the rest of the year. Right, they looked unbeatable. So here are the guys that played in the game against Gold Coast that are no longer, that didn't play on the weekend. Pitnet, who's second choice ruckman. Mm-hmm. Owies, they pushed out. Martin, they pushed out. Kennedy, they pushed out. Those last three blokes all playing at different teams.
Yeah.
Cunningham.
Body let him down.
Yeah, body let him down, plus they gave him a 5-year deal for absolutely no reason and he just wasn't very good.
He didn't get one single 5-year deal. He got 2s and 1s along the journey, didn't he?
No, they gave him a 5-year contract.
David Cunningham.
I'm 97% sure. Link, can you please check that for me?
What?
I think that Carlton gave him a 5-year deal. It might be one of the single most confusing contract extensions I've ever seen. Paddy Dow, who's obviously playing somewhere else,
Yeah.
and Chincotta, who's injured.
Yep.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a third of your team, but almost every single one of those blokes is not first choice or has been actively traded.
Yep. I like where this is going.
So when you say, well, Carlton's team's not that good, well, they've had all the access to top-line draft picks. They've gone and poached guys that they went after and got, like Sard, like Williams. And they've gotten rid of the guys that they would have described as, extra fat. And they've culled that.
Yep.
Their cap is really tight. So this is the Carlton team. This is what they have set up for and planned for.
It is go time.
Don't turn around and say, oh, this might not be the team. And if the message from the club is, well, we're doing everything right, we're playing the right system, well, you've also got the right players, so you can't blame your list. So as I've said on this pod before, once Carlton stop making excuses for themselves, they may take steps in the right direction. But while they continue to play the blame game behind closed doors, they will never fully move on and give themselves the ultimate chance of success.
Do you think they're blaming?
Did David Cunningham get given a 5-year deal?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think he did. I'm gonna go.
I've been Googling this as you've been talking as well. I can't find it, but
Really?
In 2019, he signed an extension till the end of 2022. So that probably would have been his longest.
20, 21, 22, 3 years. No, I'm almost permanent. It was 5.
yeah.
Going back. Okay.
Are they using excuses, do you think? Are they? Is there noise coming out of Carlton like that you're suggesting?
Yes, they're an excuses-based football club. What did you think of the video that got put on Instagram of Michael Voss and the players after the game? Paul Roos said on the ABC that it was a betrayal of the players to release inner sanctum stuff like that.
I don't think it did anything to douse the concern amongst the fan group.
I would agree with that.
I think the fans aren't buying the messaging at the moment, that everything's okay, it's just another disappointing loss. Aren't Carlton past the gallant defeats?
So they should be, Mitch, but this is my point. I'm not sure if you saw classified in the comparisons to what Sam Mitchell last year at 0-5 was saying. And this is a team that at 0-5, remember, this is way before Hockball kind of gained momentum and no one really had strong expectations of Hawthorn because they were quite young. They got hammered by the Gold Coast by 10 goals. They were 0-5, and Sam Mitchell walked in there and was like, well, I could say that we're young, and I could say this and say that, but ultimately it wasn't. It was a substandard AFL performance.
They were horrible that night in that Gold Coast loss when they went to 0-5.
Yeah, and Carlton have been horrible to start the year.
They weren't horrible on the weekend, but
I think Hawthorn barely got out of second year.
Yeah, that's fair.
And beat them.
Yeah.
And had some bad misses in the last quarter and could have easily won by 7 goals.
Yeah. Across town, I just watching Classified and taking in Agenda Setters last night, sitting on the couch watching the footy shows. All this talk around Essendon and some suggesting that, all right, let's just put Essendon into the too hard basket for 2025. It's all about 2026. It got me thinking about the age demographic of this list. Yes, they're young, but why can't we be talking about them like a Hawthorn of last year? So basically, from the team that played on the weekend at Essendon to the team that played early in the season last year at Hawthorn, Essendon is only half a year younger. And you look at the guys like Gresham, Mackay, Redmond, Draper, McGrath, Caldwell, Dersma, Jones, Bryan, Durham and Martin. They all sit between 23 and 27 years of age. So I think their core group and what they've been able to do is in the right age bracket. Yes, they're young. Yes, I don't think they're playing finals this year. But at the start of last year, we weren't talking about Hawthorn being a finals team. We weren't talking about them getting a post away from a prelim, especially when they were 0-5 to start the year. We weren't talking about Hawthorn like that. But they were able to show enough in the second half of the year to suggest that they went and got Barris and Battle, and now all of a sudden they're premiership contenders. So I wanted to look at the Hawthorn list of 2024 compared to the Essendon list of 2025. And I've gone through 20 players and compared the Hawthorn of 24 to the Essendon of 25. I'll whip through this because it might be a long process. John Newcombe, Zach Merritt. Similar. No. That's a win for Essendon. That's a win for Essendon.
I think my chest nearly exploded. Zach Merritt, who's a lover of this program, just spat out his coffee.
Did you see John Newcomb's game on the weekend?
Very good. Have you seen Zach Merritt's last 6 years?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm giving Essendon a win there.
Okay, well, that's nice of you.
Will Day, Sam Durham. So it probably evens itself out there. It's one apiece.
Okay.
James Warple, Darcy Parish. They should be on an even keel.
Yeah, I'm with you so far.
Connor Nash, Jai Caldwell. Massimo D'Ambrosio, Xavier Dersma. Now, Essendon let D'Ambrosio go in the same trade period as they brought in Dersma. That's like for like. It has to be. Dersma's on more money than D'Ambrosio was originally at Hawthorn.
D'Ambrosio's a much better player.
Yes, but in terms of Essendon had
list
the
management?
option.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yep. I like where you're going.
Lloyd Meek, Sam Draper.
Meek, better player.
Yeah, but Draper's been in the system longer and is much more highly touted heading into the start of last year as Lloyd Meek.
Yes.
Blake Hardwick, Andy McGrath.
Okay.
Jack Scrimshaw, Mason Redman. Mason Redman signed a 5-year deal had massive offers from the Crows. It might have even been 6 years. He's stagnated in the last 12 months.
Yep.
And Jack Scrimshaw, we were talking about a fringe player this time last year.
Yeah, he got shoved out of the Gold Coast.
Now, this is a win for Hawthorn, but Jordan Ridley, I believe, is a star and is the best and fairest winner at Essendon, but his body's let him down. Sicily and Ridley, there's enough like for like there in the role they play for their footy club. Sicily's a better footballer, no doubt.
Sicily's 5 times better player.
Marbior Chol, Peter Wright. Peter Wright's the best and fairest winner at Essendon, got a 4-year deal. Marbior Chol was basically discarded at the Suns.
Yep.
Hawks picked him up. Now, Dylan Moore, Jade Gresham. Jade Gresham arrived at Essendon on a $700,000 deal to trigger a end of first round compensation pick. Dylan Moore, when he was an All-Australian last year, would have been earning less than Jade Gresham's average at Essendon.
Yeah, but yeah, okay.
They went and identified Jade Gresham and they paid him $700,000 a year, and he's been sub the first game and he didn't offer much on the weekend.
Yeah, but the money doesn't really matter because their caps, they could pay you $1 million to not play and it'd be fine.
Is that a bit right?
And he was a free agent. Dylan Moore's a star.
Dylan Moore was one game away from playing for Glenn Waverley this year.
Yep. He's a star.
That last game, he was on the block. He had to be delisted and re-rookie. Every club in the competition could have picked up Dylan Moore at the end of that COVID year.
Yep. This is an amazing exercise. Keep going. We'll
Sam
talk about
Frost,
it after.
Ben Mackay. Mackay's on a bit more money than Sam Frost.
Shock.
Carl Amon, Nick Martin. Josh Weddle, Harrison Jones. Jarman Impey, Dylan Shield. Now that was, I had to find someone there because there's no real, I think the Hawthorn backline stacks up so much better than the Essendon backline in terms of those running guys. Jack Gunson, Kyle Langford. You'd almost give Essendon the win there. Well, you would, given the last couple of years. Nick Watson, Isaac Kako, both first-round picks, both in their first year. Cal Shadir, Nate Caddy. Cal Shadir was a pick in the 50s, playing year 1 last year. Nate Caddy's a first-round pick this year in year 2. And then Jack Ginnivan, Archie Perkins. So, yes, Hawthorn probably gets the better result out of that. But why are we talking about Essendon just putting a line through them this year when we should have been doing the same about Hawthorn last year, and we were, and they were James Sicily post away from making a prelim?
You've blown me away with that exercise. It is quite extraordinary. The only answer I have to you off the top of my head is that those comparisons on paper look really fair, positionally. However, quite a few of them are guys who are overrated and not being able to play at the level that they're expected.
That's fair.
Versus guys that are often are playing outside of what we thought. So for instance, who was your Dersma comparison?
Dersma comparison was Massimo D'Ambrosio.
Yeah. So that's a classic one.
But they brought Dersma in the same trade period as they brought D'Ambrosio. D'Ambrosio out.
And that's why your argument is so sound, because they identified the wrong talent, really.
Yeah.
And one's getting more money than the other. So I think what a lot of your exercise speaks to is Hawthorn identifying and by being financially savvy with talent to come in and fit into a system. And Sam Mitchell has been able to implement a system and a culture very quickly. Whereas it feels like Brad Scott has come in, is coaching a list that he largely didn't pick.
Yeah.
And is having to recreate on the run.
So what you're telling me, forget Hawkball, it's more money ball at the Hawks.
Well, there is a bit of money ball. But I have been saying for a long time, tell me who Essendon's good players are. And you have just done an excellent exercise in which you're saying, well, let me tell you about Hawthorn's players.
Yeah.
Why is it Hawthorn are so much more advanced than Essendon are this year? When you list out those names, I think it's a very fair and reasonable question.
And I didn't even name 4 first-round picks at Essendon. Hobbs, Sardis, Reid and Cox.
Okay, well, let's go through those 4.
Well, yeah.
Hobbs was pick 13.
Yep.
Should be pick 50. Sardis was pick 5. Should be pick 35.
I showed a bit on the weekend.
Yeah, he had 11 clearances.
Yep.
He's not a good user. Perkins was pick 9 off the top of my head.
I did put Perkins in. So,
Was it Reid? Reid was pick 8.
Yep.
And has been injured, so I'm happy to sort of just let that one go through to the keeper.
He's 23 now.
Yeah, but I haven't. He did some things on the weekend where I was like, oh, that was nice. And
Nick Cox.
yeah, Cox is just a bad pick.
Yeah, he's had concussion issues, so that's in more in recent times. But before that, his body's let him down, and he's
just a bad pick.
yeah, that's hard to argue against.
Great exercise. Very micro midge, which we love.
Just one other one before we go. My man on the whiteboard, Chad Warner. Sydney knocked off Freo on the weekend on Sunday in the West.
I tip Freo. Very happy with my tip.
They lost.
Sorry, I tipped Sydney.
Okay.
Sorry. I tipped Sydney. Very happy with my pick. I also tipped the Dogs, which annoys me.
I'm told that Chad Warner's spending 4 or 5 days in Perth.
We've buried the lead.
We might have actually.
buried the lead.
We normally talk about the mid-season break as the tipping point when players sit down and assess their future, sit down with their families, their management. Sydney, given they played opening round, have the bye in round 3. So he's spending, 4 or 5 days in Perth. Could this be Chad Warner's tipping point where usually it's a mid-season break, but the fact that the Swans get the round 3 break could bring that forward for Chad?
Do we know where... Sorry, question without notice. Do we know where in Perth Chad's from?
No, I don't know specifically.
He's south of the river.
Link is a WA man, actually. So he.
Are you, Link?
Aquinas College.
Are you a Aquinas boy?
No, Chad Warner is. I'm a Scotch boy.
Oh, okay.
Had 84 touches against us when we played against him.
In one game?
No, that was a joke. But he just dominated.
It was about 84. The most I've ever heard of in a game of footy is 61.
Did you get the 3 votes that day?
And I played in that game. But I didn't have the 61.
So if Chad Warner hasn't re-signed, so Chad Warner's going to have 4 or 5 days with family, his management in the West. If he hasn't re-signed with Sydney in the next month, then I think we start to ask more questions. What I'm saying is usually we talk about that mid-season break, round 11, 12, and it gets to round 16, 17 and they haven't signed. It's like, oh, okay.
What percentage chance? Oh. No. Wait for the question. It's not what you think. You're saying he's spending 4 to 5 days over there?
Yep.
What percentage chance in those 4 to 5 days that he meets with Freo and or West Coast?
33%.
Yeah, okay.
I think he's already met them enough, or he knows.
Yeah, he has.
I think he knows what's coming.
But I just, I'm thinking like Simon Garlick living just behind the OBH in Cottesloe. Does he open up the doors? Maybe a bit of a barbecue out the back. Chad come in, maybe invites Luke Jackson over. Maybe the coach wanders in. Just thinking in
Luke
Perth.
Jackson, that's an interesting decision to use him as the bargaining chip.
Oh, you still think he's going?
Oh, he's on the whiteboard for a reason.
You still think he's going? But Mitch, he said he's not going. So isn't that the end of the conversation? Because footballers never lie.
Tom Barras was good for West Coast on the weekend, wasn't he?
Mitch is going to take the Luke Jackson situation very personally. Mitch,
I never said he's leaving.
Mitch is to Luke Jackson what I am to Harley Reid. It's going to be very personal.
How have we not got through Harley? Have we got 45 minutes through this ep and not done Harley Reid?
How is Harley going? He's had a tough start. What's that for?
No. I'm sort of split. Like, are we pinning at West Coast failures on a 19-year-old? But is he bringing this on himself?
No. So I think neither. I think neither. I think he's a kid. I mean, sorry, respectfully, he's comparatively a kid to a lot of the other players. He's 19. He's finding his way. He's a Victorian country boy living in a bubble that is WA, footy bubble that is WA. He's under the pump. He's playing in a shocking team. I think it's just creating a fascinating situation at the end of the year. And as Matthew Lloyd said on Classified, and when he said it, I was angry at myself that I hadn't thought of it myself as such a good point. It reminds him of the Jason Horne-Francis situation at North. You know, Horne-Francis was the end of his first year, which is actually basically the same because Harley Reid had to sign a 3-year deal. Whereas Horne-Francis, with the rules there, were only 2.
Yeah.
So for all intents and purposes, it's the same situation. They're both in a year where they've still got a year left on their contract, but everyone's wondering if they're going to break that and leave. And they both look frustrated on the field, playing in poor teams. Horne-Francis, of course, left and is now at Port Adelaide. He went home. Will we be saying the same thing about Harley Reid come the end of October?
We could well be.
Yep. And it's hard for, Oscar Allen to...
Well, he's not up yet, actually. I thought he was on the whiteboard.
Oh, I'm not putting him up. I'm steering clear. You can take the Harley situation.
Yeah, you put a Harley band on yourself.
I put a Harley band and a Dusty band. They're the bands.
Is Dusty going to play anywhere this year?
I don't.
No.
Why would you say that?
Local footy.
Why would you
I'm
say
hearing all
that?
sorts of rumours.
Okay, well, we're just about to finish up. I think it's been a big episode.
It has. We've covered a lot of turf.
Lots of names. Fritsch goes on the whiteboard. Bontempelli goes on the whiteboard. We continue to watch the Davies-Uniacke situation. I'm going to find myself at the brewery again. Hope Carla and Tim have got my table sorted. Remember St Andrews Beach Brewery and their new location at Melbourne Park, the place to be before a game.
There might be more people.
G.
Can you give me is there a chance there's more people at the brewery than the G?
Oh.
No.
You snake. You give me shit every time I bring up Melbourne crowds, and you've gone with that. And every single Melbourne supporter listening to this pod, all 4 of them, are very upset.
They've tuned ever since you said Bailey Fritsch was a chance to get traded. They've tuned out.
One of my best mates, Jack, who I take to all the events, different Jack, Melbourne supporter Jack. His last name's Murphy Cruz, so we just call him Cruz. I saw him at the footy at the brewery. He came to the brewery on Thursday, and I said, "Are you going on Sunday?" Because Melbourne playing North. And he's like, "Oh, I don't go to Marvel."
What's this?
And I said, "When do you know?" He said, "I'm going to Melbourne Gold Coast." And I was like, "Well, great. When was the last time you went to a Melbourne game?" He couldn't answer.
Oh.
He couldn't answer. Jack is the prototype Melbourne supporter. Prototype.
There is nothing wrong with Marvel.
There's heaps wrong with Marvel. Let's finish it there. Remember, follow Tradies on iHeart, Spotify, or subscribe on Apple or wherever you listen to your podcast. We've still got Just Quickly coming up. We've still got the Siren. I'm coming off a long run with the Siren too. Just wait for the Siren. Otherwise, we'll see you next week, Tradies.